Good evening and welcome to Fl33tway's Roundup with your host, of course, me. And it's good to be seeing everybody that's going to be tuning in tonight. Once again, you guys always know I love to be doing this show, being able to bring any kind of news and information I can to anybody that does tune in. And tonight's episode, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And I mean a lot. Definitely a lot of stuff. We got some football news. We got some movie news. We got some drama, controversies. Trust me, it's a lot of stuff, but I can't wait to once again bring it all to you so that you guys can be knowing what's going on and just be properly aware. And that's what I feel like I just want to be able to do for you guys. And well, we're going to start off with our first topic. And when I came to prepping for this show, the topic that I was going to bring up, it's a serious topic, and I was considering whether or not either if it was going to be in here, if I was going to cut it, if I was going to maybe save it for the end of the episode. But the more and more I started thinking about it, the more and more I sat to think about it, the topic, I just realized that it's a really deep and serious topic that's involving, I mean, you've seen my poster, and for anybody that has witnessed it, we talk about animation, television, movies, football, and video games. And I feel with this topic, it is a video game related topic. And it's one that I don't want it to just get swept under the rug, even though I think it is blown up enough that it shouldn't get swept under the rug. But still, I want to be able to use my platform in a way where I can bring that visibility to stuff going on for people that aren't hip or aren't aware. And this first topic we're going to be talking about, like, again, it's a serious topic, but it's one that I felt led to at least make sure that people knew what was going on. This topic involves, now I think people who do pay attention here and there, they've probably heard of the hit game Roblox. I don't know how you haven't, because it is a game that is up there with other juggernauts like Fortnite and Minecraft. So it is up there in like the big three of big games that you see a lot of kids play, whether it's on their tablets, their phones, etc., etc. It's funny because actually just a couple days ago when I was running some errands, I had seen a kid that was on their tablet playing Roblox. I don't know what game they were playing. Maybe I did, but I can't remember for sure. So it's a big game. And well, now I am going to say as a disclaimer, we don't know all of the facts. We don't know if what I'm about to read to you is true or not, but still, it's a topic that's very serious and involves something that is a real world thing that can happen. So a part of me in my heart is inclined to believe it. Of course, when you do hear what I'm going to share with you, you do have the option to determine for yourself, do you believe that this could have happened? Share your opinions. That's what the chat's for. That's what the comments section is for. Now, for anybody that might have gone and read in front of me, I could completely get it because you've probably already seen some of the big headlines, but I'm going to kind of try to read what this post is from. And you see that right. It is saying a Roblox game killed someone with an epilepsy attack. Now, I think everybody should be pretty familiar with epilepsy. This is from what I know it for, it's where people who can't stand seeing strobing lights, flashing lights of any kind, that it can typically set off. It could set off a seizure that can be fatal, or it could hospitalize someone. And well, a Roblox game caused that. And what's being basically reported and is causing controversy on the internet right now is that there is a Roblox game out there called Doom by Fate. In this game, they released a character for people to play that sadly had heavy strobing and flashing light effects. And this is from me reading from the text that has been provided. A player named Kit, who had photosensitive epilepsy, reportedly played the update, suffered a severe seizure from the flashing lights, was hospitalized, and died during emergency surgery less than 2 hours later. This happened on April 3rd through the 4th, but this didn't get properly reported until last night on the 6th. The game didn't have proper epilepsy warning, even though the community had complained about flashing lights in earlier showcase videos, and an epileptic player had specifically warned the devs beforehand. Devs allegedly added a basic flash toggle after the incident, but it didn't fully fix the strobing from the new content. The devs and staff responses in their Discord and elsewhere have been widely criticized as dismissive, victim-blaming, or straight-up insensitive. Examples from reports and leaks include calling Kit a random and downplaying it because player count was low, suggesting people with epilepsy just shouldn't play video games, demanding proof of the epilepsy, hospitalization, or death, locking channels, and trying to shut down discussion. For anybody that isn't aware of what they mean by locking channels, Discord is a huge messaging app, and in servers you can have channels where people chat and talk, and if you are an owner of the server, you could go in and lock the channel up so then people can't have further conversations. So as it says, they're trying to shut down the discussions and kind of cut it off. As it says, it's all still developing. No official statement from Kit's family yet that I've seen, but the outrage is real and spreading fast. The Google Doc that a lot of people are sharing lays out the timeline and screenshots if you want the full alleged details. And they attached with their post a picture of one of the devs, because I guess someone had DM'd them about the situation. And as you can read for yourself, if this is very true, these images from the Discord, it comes off as extremely insensitive. And there's also an additional post that was made where they continued with more information that was shared. Doomed by Fate situation got worse. Devs' responses got way worse. Called Kit just a random player and brushed the whole death off because player count was low, as they explained in their previous post. Straight up said epileptics shouldn't play video games anyway, which on one hand, I can understand that argument because some video games can have strobing, flashing lights, but at the same time, if you're a dev working on a game, a dev is a developer, if for anybody that isn't fully aware of that. So that means these are people who have full control of making the game, making the process. So they basically are the head honchos of a game. And while that may be true for the dev's argument that epileptics shouldn't play video games, that's also like saying epileptics shouldn't watch movies. Well, guess what? People that do deal with epilepsy, they do go and still watch movies. They still play video games. But guess where's the difference between you and the big name movies and big name video games? At least they put warnings for people that may deal with epilepsy or deal with strobing lights. They put those kind of warnings out there to let people know that, hey, if you struggle with this, do not watch this movie. Do not buy or play our product because it has flashing lights. If you still decide to play it, that is on your control. But hey, most times too, they can have those kind of settings in there that change the lighting, all that kind of stuff. So then situations like this can be avoided. I even remember when I was younger, I remember there was a whole big situation because I did grow up aware of the existence of the popular game Pokemon and even the series that was on TV. I know a lot of people should know what Pokemon is. And I remember when I was growing up, even though I didn't grow up when the show was live and all of that, I do remember though that there was a big thing going around that there was an episode from the series that had gotten banned because it had strobing lights in there and there wasn't any proper warnings. And it turned into a serious situation where there were a lot of reports going on where kids that were watching this show dealt with seizures. So epilepsy is not something to joke or laugh about. This is a serious thing that can, as we're reading here, can lead to something fatal. And as you probably been even reading from this other post, you're seeing staff were memeing, joking about the death like it was funny. Hit everyone with boo-hoo. People get hurt, grow up, while someone actually died in their game. Demanded proof of the dead person's epilepsy. And I can understand, though, demanding proof and stuff, which still, like, and I mean, if we get more information on this, trust me, I mean, on next week's episode or even this week, I will properly update you guys on if we do get more information involving if sadly this is the case or if this turns into a big fiasco just to try to bring a game down. But from what I'm reading here and what I'm seeing, I'm more inclined to believe that sadly this did result in taking a life. And I'm just hurt to see that we as a society have grown into a place where people don't treat the death of someone seriously, especially when that death is caused by your own game. And that just shows immaturity. It shows that you really don't have a right to make a game if you can't properly prepare and add warnings to take care of all people who play your game. And I see this as a group of people that, because their game wasn't well known or wasn't big, or even as it says didn't have a big player count, they didn't see the seriousness in this, because they're like, oh well, we're small time, why would anybody else take this seriously? Well, you might have caused and I want to, like I said, I want to lightly use these words, but you might have caused the death of someone because of your hubris. And this is where you got to take this seriously. And so far, these devs' responses have shown to me they are not taking this seriously. And well, let me tell you something, devs. And if this video does get big enough and this message gets across, even if any of the devs see this, anybody else, well, guess what? If this turns out to be true, you have a big case on your hands, because if your game caused the death of someone and you did not take the proper precautions to make sure that there were warnings to let players know that struggle with epilepsy or epileptic events or seizures because of strobing lights, the family of this person could very much take you to court, because that shows that you did not take the proper precautions, safety measures to make sure that you don't run into this. And then the fact is, this is the internet, so all this stuff has been screenshot. All your Discord messages have been saved. People have all this information against you, showing your lack of concern or empathy for this situation. So not only is there all this proof showing this, so if this turns into a serious situation where you get taken to court, they're going to have all kinds of proof to use against you, showing that that will lead for no judge to take your side in this case. So while you may not want to take this seriously now, you're going to take it a lot more seriously if this does turn into a serious situation and ends up in court, where an actual judge and jury have to give their opinions and make a verdict on where they stand. And the other thing too is that since your game is on a big platform like Roblox is going to get sued for this as well, because this game is on their platform. Sure, they're not the ones making the game, but their platform is promoting that game to other kids to play it. So that's now also a big studio, a big company that has to get involved in this. So that's a three-way of the parents of the deceased, the devs of the game, and then the big creatives at Roblox having to go into a big court battle like this. So, like I said, as we'll pay attention to this, I promise that I will update you guys. My thoughts and prayers and heart go out to the family if this does turn out to be true. And I think my closing message for this first topic is, parents, please do not just give your kids these phones and tablets and not pay attention to the stuff that they are giving their attention to, because this is a sign right here that if you are not paying attention to what they are watching, something like this can happen. They either can get easily influenced. If they deal with epilepsy, something like this could happen. You've got to pay attention to this stuff. And I understand parents that maybe don't want to be like, I don't want to lock up my kid, I don't want them to not have freedom. You can still allow them to have freedom, but also as a parent, watch your kids. Please, if this isn't a sign enough to show you that you need to be watching the stuff that you let your kids watch, parents, stop letting your kids be watched by technology. We need to get back to a point when parents are the ones watching their kids and not a tablet or TV screen being the thing that's watching their parents, because you just don't know what is being shown to your children at a young age. So, like I said, this was a topic I was contemplating if it was going to be at the end of the episode, but I didn't want to leave the episode off on some depressing possible note here, and so I wanted to at least start off the episode with this, so then we can get to the other topics, and it gives people the chance and time to be able to process it, but also not let it linger on, because I don't want my show to be something that brings only the negativity in the world, but I do want this kind of stuff and information to at least be made public, so then these devs can be, if this is true, these devs can be held responsible, because this is the real world. So there needs to be real world consequences, especially if your game is resulting in the death of someone like this because you just didn't care. So once again, share your opinions on that in the chat or comment, what you think about it. Do you think that this could end up just being some big blowover fiasco, or do you think that this could be something serious? And if you do think this is something serious, what do you think? Do you agree that these people need to be held accountable for their actions and that they need to be doing better? Do you also agree that we need to do better as far as when it comes to our children, that we make sure that they are not being watched by the technology, and that we are doing what we need to make sure that we're the ones watching them and not the phones and the tablets? But we're going to move on to our next big topic here, and that is, and I know it's crazy to go from that topic to then jump over to the next one, but we're going to go and talk about, this isn't going to be a review for the movie, because I from what I've seen from clips and even the full movie being sent to me on Discord from one of my friends, I don't want to just give a review just yet before properly seeing it in theaters and seeing it with someone. That's my game plan. So you might see a review from me later in the week for this movie, a more in-depth breakdown. But what we're going to be talking about is the controversy and drama surrounding the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, we've had a few episodes. We have briefly talked about this movie from my brief opinions on overall what I fear may happen with it, etc., etc. But we're going to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score released, and as I am scrolling down, you can see it. When the movie came out, it released with a critic score of 42%, and that's a splat, meaning it's not good, and an audience score that earlier, if I'm correct, was sitting at like 91 and has dropped down to 89% on the audience score. This has resulted in a humongous controversy where it's a battle between the diehard fans that are like, "Oh, we love this movie. How could you talk bad about our film? Oh, you're dumb. You don't understand this. You must be miserable if you can't understand the whimsy of this movie. This movie's for kids. Why are you treating this movie so seriously? It's for the kids." Etc., etc. And then the critics that are like, "Oh, this is the death of cinema," or "This is worse than AI. Why are we letting people see this garbage? Oh my goodness." And then you got the in-between people of people who don't like the movie but are understanding of people who enjoy it, and the people who enjoy the movie and are understanding of the criticisms. And I've had to witness this ongoing war. Me personally, from what I have seen of clips and what I've seen from the movie that was sent to me on Discord, there's a lot of flaws in this movie. And I think this would all be solved if a lot of the people who are being super positive could at least be a little more accepting or receptive to the criticisms. Because there's no problem with you liking a movie, but at least acknowledging that your movie has problems. Me, for example, I'm a huge fan of Space Jam. I love Space Jam. I grew up watching that movie a whole bunch of times. I probably have watched that movie 100 times. But I understand that that movie is not good. It has flaws. It is a massive commercial for Michael Jordan, Air Jordan brand shoes, and the Looney Tunes, etc., etc. There's like a whole scene where he literally labels McDonald's, Pepsi, etc., and all that kind of stuff. It's a huge commercial. So I understand them. So as much as I love Space Jam, I understand there is a lot of flaws that makes it not a great movie, but it was a movie I still enjoyed. But that's not what we're getting. We're getting where these fans are, as we call it, toxic positivity. There's toxic negativity and there's toxic positivity, which some people maybe never heard of that term before, but it is a real thing. It's being overly positive to the point where you're not being receptive to a fair criticism of something you love, or etc. And in other cases, and with this, what we're seeing here is a lot of toxic positivity where fans don't want to take the criticism, and they're just saying, they're finding every reason to say why the critics are wrong for their criticisms. Like I said before, it's either, oh, you must be miserable and not understand the whimsy of this movie. This movie's super colorful. How could you possibly hate it? It's an animated movie. It's for the kids. Why are you being so serious? It's a video game movie. It's not supposed to have a story. This is for the fans only. You wouldn't understand. And it's just like that. There's so much to take as negatives against that because, one, we've had plenty of kids movies that are directed for kids. They're directed for a child audience and yet can deliver at least some form of a competent story that critics can be like, you know what? I like that story. I might not be a fan of this product, but I like the story they're giving me and I felt something while watching it. But if you're going to give something that is a big adaptation of a video game, but all you're doing is it has no story, then what can you expect from the critics other than to say, yeah, well, not only am I not a fan of this, but I couldn't even get in with the story. You see where I'm going with this? And that started this whole war. And you heard a little bit of my opinions, but we're going to go to a guy for just a few minutes here from this video. I'm someone, first off, when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes, we don't normally like to take Rotten Tomatoes to heart because you may enjoy a movie and the critics might say your movie's trash. So that's why we always like to believe in the idea of at least go to see the movie yourself and build an opinion from your own experience. And it's funny, though, because on the internet, you'll get that because if someone likes something and their movie is criticized, guess what? They're going to tell you, well, the critic score doesn't matter. They don't know what they're talking about. It's always about the audience score. But if their movie that they love is being praised, then it's like, oh, yeah, see, the critics loved it, too. They know what they're talking about. So you see the hypocrisy with that. And even the audience score isn't a good thing to use either because there's movies that are genuinely bad but still have at least 75%, 60-something% positive audience reviews. So it really comes down to a build your own experience and opinion watching a movie. Another thing I suggest is find a small group of maybe reviewers on YouTube that you can get behind their opinions because at least you can, especially people that share your opinions, and I have a few of those, some being 3C Films on YouTube, another is The Real Rejects, but the one that we're going to be talking about here is, he goes by the name of Sean Chandler Talks About. That's his YouTube channel right there if you want to check him out. He posts a lot of movie reviews. He's reviewed a lot of movies, and I even did see his Mario Galaxy review. He was positive on this movie, but the brief clip we're going to kind of watch here and briefly talk about before we go to the next topic, he expresses about the back and forth dialogue going on between the critics and the fans and where he stands on this, being a critic and someone, though, that also loves Mario. Because me, myself, I'm someone that loves video games, but I'm also a movie critic at times. I pay attention to if I feel a story is good or the acting is good or if I'm feeling that connection. So once again, I'm going to leave it to Sean Chandler here. I'm not going to play his whole video because his whole video is 16 minutes and we're not trying to go that long. So we're just going to do a couple minutes from here to watch what his opinions are on this whole debate for the Mario Galaxy movie. So we'll be back once this is done.
So it's just, we're 2 days in, and I guess I just wasn't ready for it. Maybe I just forgot what the dialogue was a couple years back, 3 years back when the first one came out. But just instantly, this sort of just vicious battle when I don't even understand why it's there. These are all easy to understand. It's okay if someone doesn't agree with you. You don't, I saw a guy put out a chart like, the Mario movies have made it, the first Mario movie alone made way more money than all the Sonic movies combined. I bet Paramount would love it if they, and just like box office means that Mario is better. Like, it's just bizarre stuff. And none of it is actually defending the cinematic merits of Super Mario Galaxy. It's just devaluing story and storytelling, or the idea of watching a movie critically, and the idea of caring about the quality of the product beyond the nostalgia and the cameos. And I think that is what's just kind of amping up the critics to be overly hostile. Like when I see stuff like worse than AI, it's the worst movie ever made, it's killing art. Like I hear that and I go, that feels a little bit exaggerated. We're going a little bit far there. But at the same time, I understand where they're coming from. Even though I went positive on the movie, I'm not on the side of the people that went negative and they're saying it's killing art and it's worse than AI. And at the same time, I hear those thoughts and I go, and I read the defenses of the movie and I go, maybe they're not wrong. Like when the defense of Super Mario Galaxy is story doesn't matter, it's just a kid's movie, your defense is devaluing quality or devaluing quality cinema. Like, no, it's just Mario stuff. That's all I want. I just wanted Mario stuff. I don't care about the craft of story at all. And you can have both. Throw more examples out there. Lego Movie also has Chris Pratt in it. It's hyperactive, it's vibrant, it's colorful, it's an adaptation of a children's toy, and it got amazing reviews. It's beloved. The story works. It's got the cameo references, all that stuff. It has both. You can do both. And with Mario, they just haven't done that. And it's very concerning to me that the defense of the movie is story doesn't matter. Like the things that critics value don't matter because I got to see, I got to hear that sound effect that was in the video game I grew up with. I got to see Wart. I got to see those, egg shooting face things from Super Mario Brothers 2. Therefore, the movie's awesome and you're stupid if you value it. Like, I just don't, it's so weird, it's so unhealthy, and it's a bad direction to go.
So yeah, as you saw from Sean Chandler there, from that, and I heavily agree with that. I agree. That's my stance on it, because we can't devalue a good story by just saying, oh well, it's for kids. I mean, just like I was talking about with the whole Roblox thing, it's like we gotta be a story. Just because it might be directed for kids doesn't mean that we can't at least have some form of respect for a kid being able to see something that they can enjoy, but it isn't treating them like they're dumb, because kids aren't dumb. Kids are smart too. Kids can learn and develop and be influenced. So why should we be letting them see movies that don't at least try to give them a decent enough story for them to respect as they get older, so then when they look back at it, they could be like, man, that was a good movie that was teaching me, that could have possibly teach me some life lessons. Instead, no, we're trying to say a movie that is maybe not good or has a bad story. That's basically treating it's like using that excuse that it's for kids is like saying, well, it's a dumb kids movie, it's for the dumb kids to watch, so yeah, it shouldn't have a story. But no, a kid's movie can be directed towards kids while still having a story that can teach them something, can make them feel things, and also for adults to enjoy and watch with them. So you guys share your opinions on that. Do you agree with that take, that we shouldn't treat movies that are for kids like they're just supposed to be something that you just turn on and leave on for them to just sit there and be like, or do you believe that kids should be, that parents should at least have it where their kids are able to witness movies that can be enjoyable, can be fun, can be like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's fun, while also still bringing themes of like, whoa, that's something that now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, that's a deep commentary, you know what I'm saying? So definitely that's what that's what the chat and comments are for. Share your opinions on what you think. Do you think that kids shouldn't be treated like they're dumb, that they should be treated like that they have brains? Because everybody's got brains, God built us with them. So that's just a brief little thing about that Mario Galaxy stuff, and that's a little bit of my opinion. You heard from Sean Chandler of his opinion on it, and then that just kind of leaves you guys to share your opinions. But we're gonna go and move on to our next set of topics here today. Man, oh man, I don't even know what special occasion was, but we One Piece fans have been, I guess, blessed or something with some big One Piece news that just all got dropped today. The official account on Twitter for One Piece said, be on the lookout that some big announcements would be dropped every hour. And I mean, they weren't kidding, because not one, not two, but three big announcements all got dropped in the same day involving One Piece. And man, well, the first one you've heard on this show, we have briefly talked about the live action adaptation for One Piece on Netflix. They have officially released a teaser title card for season 3, as it has been titled The Battle of Alabasta. I am going to play this video in the background while I am talking about it. And with this title here, for anybody that maybe has watched the live action, we saw that of course, for those that aren't familiar with the anime or manga, the villain for this next season is going to be Crocodile. His powers involve sand, as you can even see there in the background. Alabasta is a kingdom that is in the desert. And the fact that they are titling this season The Battle of Alabasta, that's letting a lot of the fans know it seems like this next season is going to be heavily focused on it's going to be heavily focused on the Alabasta arc. And it's crazy because first off, that's a very big different change on how they're doing this, considering that the last 2 seasons took multiple arcs and combined them into one season. So first off, that should tell people who are new to this franchise that, hey, that should tell you that, hey, this next arc has a lot of importance. If they're not going to cut, that means that they plan on trying to do this justice. And I'm glad that if they are going to do this, I'm glad that they are going to heavily focus on just one arc for one season, because I think Alabasta is, in my opinion, one of the best arcs in One Piece. So I'm glad that they're going to do it justice by giving a whole dedicated season, because I think that's really the only way you can do the Alabasta arc right. And at first, when I saw this announcement, I was like, wow, that's crazy that they're doing a whole season of Alabasta, and the fact it's releasing in 2027, considering that, let me see here, the first season of One Piece live action came out all the way back in, let's see, when did season 2023? That's when the first season came out. It was back in 2023, and we just got season 2 in 2026. So 3 years later, and now the next season is going to be coming out in 2027, which that tells me that when they were filming for season 2, they probably were filming a whole bunch of the stuff for season 3 around the same time. I think the filming started back in 2024, maybe 2025. So that tells you that they definitely focused a lot of that filming for seasons 2 and 3, so they could have a timely release. And I'm happy. As long as the story is still as good, they adapt everything decently well, I think that we could still continue to see one of the best anime adaptations out there in live action. So I'm very much excited for the news. You guys share your opinions. Are you excited for a season 3 of live action One Piece, focusing on one of my favorite villains in the series with Sir Crocodile, for those that maybe watched the series and saw what he looks like, as well as one of my favorite arcs? I'm excited. This is one I will definitely be tuning in to watch. But like I said, there were 2 other big announcements that were shared involving with One Piece, as we're going to go on to discussing film here. The other 2 things that were dropped news-wise for One Piece was, not only did they drop the little title thing for season 3 of live-action One Piece, they also talked about something that fans had already been aware of for a while. I want to say for at least a year. I think this was announced a year ago, that a remake of the anime is going to be done and released on Netflix, being developed by Wit Studio, a well-known Japanese anime studio that's done a lot of famous anime. So they will be doing a remake for One Piece, and they've done we're going to take the volume off, but showing off a little bit of the character designs here and stuff. As you can see, like, compared to how they look in the... You've probably seen some images I showed when I was doing my little review of season 2 of how they look. And so you see now they kind of have some slight redesigns for the characters. You got Luffy, you have Zoro, you have Nami, you have Usopp, you have Sanji. And so, of course, this remake is going to be focusing on one of the first few arcs of the series. But with this remake, there is, as always with the internet, controversy. And it involves my boy here, Usopp. If I could try to get back onto him. It goes back to my kid. Oh, man. I mean, it goes back to my boy Usopp here. It involves the color of his skin. Not a running joke, but a running criticism of One Piece is, as the years have gone by, people have talked about that One Piece has a little bit of a, as we call, a melanin problem. And Usopp has been the biggest example. Oda has made it very clear, the creator of One Piece, that Usopp is supposed to be of African descent. So he's supposed to be African American. He's supposed to be black. Even the live action actor for Usopp, One Piece, let's see here. One Piece live action. Hold on. Give me 1 second here, guys. The actor because the creator Oda, he had a big hand in casting the actors for the live action series. So he handpicked these people. So if a character is black in the live action series, that means that Oda is like, hey, this character is supposed to be black in my anime. And yeah, so he casted a black actor to be Usopp. And even as you can see in this comparison, this is a photo of, as I'm going to move my little camera thing out the way here, Usopp in the anime back then, you could see he had darker skin tone. And a progression of the series was, and I'm going to show here too, as someone had talked about it because of the recent news of the remake. Oh, the things I would do to get her their melanin back. And these are a few characters in the series. Robin, Zoro, as we talked about, and Usopp. And as you can see, these characters, their skin is a lot darker in the earlier seasons of the anime. And then you look at this, like, come on. What did they do to my boy? This dude is supposed to be black, and they keep making him lighter and lighter. I mean, it's getting a little ridiculous. Why are they so scared to give this man his melanin back? And I think I can even try to pull up, because Google, I'm sure of it. They could seriously, they need to fix this, because this is just, look at that. If I look up One Piece melanin, and you can see here, I'm about to show this one image, if I can move my camera out the way. With there's Robin, one of the characters that we just talked about. Let's see. I'm going to put this in the link here so then we can. So, of course, you can see like just the changes in her design and everything. And I mean, look at this. She went from a more darker skin tone to I mean, as we're calling it on the internet, they whitewashed her pretty much. And this has been a reoccurring thing. This is even from this image right here is of Usopp of a more recent season of One Piece. And as you can even see here, he's a lot more lighter. Here's Zoro. This was an early season of the anime. You could tell he's more tan. But then you see this. What is their problem? Like, look at this. This is supposed to be an African-American male, and they would clearly fool you that they would fool you that he ain't black, but he is. So I don't, it's a serious problem that I'm like, man, why are they so scared of representing black people in One Piece, and even in anime? It's reaching a breaking point with fans where it's turning less from a joke to is there something we need to know about these people behind these series that we love, why they seem to be so scared of properly representing black folk. But I'm getting off topic, and I wanted to be able to talk about one of the other announcements from One Piece that was announced, but still, look, they butchered him, man. Honestly, if I didn't know any better, it's already bad enough that this African American character has the pink lips, something that was seen as a derogatory way to represent black people in harmful art of showing black people with the clown faces and stuff. So you look at him and you see it's already bad enough he's got the lips, but you're making him lighter and lighter. It's just, they need to fix it, man. They seriously need to fix it. Give Usopp his melanin back, please. Give him his melanin back. But so I don't go into a ramble session, because trust me, I could go on and on about the melanin problem in One Piece. We're going to talk about the last thing that was revealed for One Piece, and that is they revealed that there is going to be a 2-part animated special on Netflix for One Piece that is going to be Lego. And when I see all this stuff, I wanted to talk about this because for the longest time, when it came to anime that most people have talked about, I think mostly everyone is going to say, if you mention anime, the first thing that gets brought up, or was the biggest thing that get brought up, is Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was always seen as the top dog, and I still stand by it. It is the top dog of anime, but it was the most generalized one. Mostly, even if you didn't know what anime was, you probably seen this guy with the orange clothes and the spiky hair flying around fighting, his name being Goku, etc., etc. You probably knew about him, so you, in a sense, knew of Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was known as the most generalized anime out there, but we're starting to see as the days go on and on that more and more anime are starting to find their ways getting generalized. And the point of talking about this with One Piece is how I'm just so impressed with how One Piece is seriously taking these giant leaps from first being something that was seen as slightly I don't want to say a niche, because One Piece is a good anime, but not a generalized one, not one that the public knew about. But we're seeing that they are making leaps and strides for this franchise to be known by all generations, from the series becoming more popular. The live action series has definitely brought in more people, especially with it being on Netflix. And now Lego, something that Dragon Ball don't even have. Dragon Ball has no collabs with Lego, but One Piece does. Well, not the anime, but the live action series. But still, the point still stands. One Piece is now even getting collaborations with Lego, of all companies. So you can see they're getting big out there. And now we're getting a full-blown animated event of Lego with the live-action characters, and it's going to focus heavily on Usopp, which, once again, look at his Lego character, bro. He's got dreads. He's a black man. Goes back to the melanin problem, but still, it's crazy to see that One Piece is getting as big as it's starting to get, and as someone that's been an anime fan for years, it's cool to see when certain anime projects that you love are getting that popularity, because they're able to tell good stories. Similar going back to the whole Mario Galaxy stuff. They're able to tell good stories for people to enjoy, and I'm glad to see that it's getting more and more recognition for that. But as we're going to go and move on with our next topic, since we're talking about a little bit of the movie television genre, we're going to go and talk about a few little teasers and trailers that have been dropped over these past few days. You might have remembered in one of my last episodes, we talked about an upcoming movie that is an adaptation of a YouTube series called The Backrooms. We talked about the director is 20 years old, and while they were directing, he was 19, making him one of the youngest directors out there in cinema, and his project is now going to be hitting big screens. And well, they dropped a small little teaser, as it states, an in-universe commercial for Captain Clark's Automan Empire from the Backrooms movie has been playing on various TV channels. So apparently people have been watching their TV, and this commercial has been coming on as a cross promotion for the upcoming movie. So we're going to play it for a brief second here, and we're going to talk about it just for a few seconds, and then we'll move on to one of the next trailers, which I'm excited about because I didn't talk about it, but I have talked about the character because he will be appearing in a future Spider-Man project. But once again, I'm going to play this clip. We'll come back, briefly talk about it, and then move on to the next thing.
Mateys! Now, according to me map, we've landed on the crystal shores of a bountiful land. A land filled with great deals. Need bed bumps for the scallywags' quarters? We've got it all. And at prices so low, you'll think that you're robbing me. Come visit Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire. And the only thing you'll be wanting is more space to keep it all.
So as you can see, it's nothing too big. It doesn't have any kind of huge implications for like spoiling anything for the movie. I think it's a cool little cross promotion thing they're doing there, especially because the original series would do that VHS type of style, and the trailer even showed they're going to do a little bit of it. So it's cool to see that they're implementing that. And of course, that main character we're seeing, one of the things at least we are learning though is that he apparently looked to be an owner of a store or something for deals, and even the story is going to focus on how this guy discovers the back rooms. He's telling his therapist about it. His therapist doesn't believe him, but the movie's going to focus heavily on the therapist finding out that her patient has now disappeared out of nowhere with no trace and is going to go looking for him. And so again, congratulations to Kane Parsons, that becoming one of the youngest directors in movie history at this very moment, and getting his project onto big screens like this. So I hope it does good. I hope it has a good box office. I don't know if I'll be going to see the movie, but still, I mean, once again, congratulations to him that his project is going to be hitting big screens, and now it's getting this big promotional marketing that's going on now. So what do you think? Do you think this is cool that they're doing these fake commercials to kind of pull you in to the Backroom series and this upcoming movie? Or do you think that, oh man, people don't really watch TV anymore, they watch streaming, why would you do this for TV? But I think it's a cute little cool thing to do for cross promotion. I miss when movies would do that, when they would do better cross promotion with just random fake commercials and all that kind of stuff that help promote and support an upcoming movie. Those were good times. So it's fun to see that they're going back to that. But one of our next topics here is, as you can read, first teaser for The Punisher: One Last Kill. Now, I did not bring up this series in one of my previous episodes, but Disney is going to be doing a special presentation on the character of the Punisher. Of course, we did talk about the Punisher and John Bernthal, that he will be appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day, a movie that's coming out later this year. And he is also, people may be familiar, he originally popped up in the Daredevil Netflix series and now has crossed over to moved on to the MCU and all the Disney projects. And this is going to be kind of following an aftermath of the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 1, where Kingpin had Punisher captured in a prison of sorts, and he was able to break out. And this little special presentation is going to show kind of the after events of him breaking out, but also is going to follow where he kind of wants to give up being the Punisher. He doesn't want to focus anymore on it and kind of wants to leave that life behind him, but apparently something is going to drag him and pull him back in to the action. And I love John Bernthal has been in my opinion, one of the best Marvel live action castings out there. He really does the Punisher well, from the tenacity, the aggression. He follows that character really good, and I do love any kind of project he's in Marvel wise. So, like, again, they shared a little brief teaser here of his costume and how he's going to look in this series. And you see, as you can see, as we're going to get in this frame, let me see if I could get a little pause here. As you can see, they have let him grow the beard out. He's got a new hairstyle. The costume, man, it looks good. He's looking real good here. As you can see, the scene looks like he's on the streets of New York. He's pulling his knife out, and then it looks like he probably got into some kind of fight and is doing some Punisher things. And man, I can't wait to see what they got in store, because I know that when you got a Punisher show and John Bernthal and a Disney Plus special presentation, you know they ain't gonna hold back. So I'm excited to see what they got in store with him, and I can't wait to see when this comes out on May 12th. You guys share. Are you going to be tuning in on Disney Plus to see John Bernthal back as Punisher in a more, because remember, the Spider-Man movie he's going to be popping up in is a more PG-13 setting, so that isn't full Punisher, but you know, at least you'll get a 1 hour special where you'll get to see that rated R Punisher that more people are familiar and a fan of. But again, I'm excited for it. Share in the chat and comments. Are you excited for the Punisher One Last Kill? And then we're going to move on to our last of the movie news, a big topic involving a guy who is not unfamiliar with being in the spotlight and headlines of news, and that is Jonathan Majors. We've talked about him before. We all know his misdeeds and all of that, and how he's been blacklisted from Hollywood. Well, he is now back on the news again, but not really because he's done something, but because of what has happened with him. Jonathan Majors, he was on the set filming for a action movie that is by Daily Wire. For people who don't know, Daily Wire is supposed to be like the studio that I think Ben Shapiro owns and is a part of, and they were filming for an action movie he's starring in, which really shows how desperate he's trying to be, how desperate he is to get into more roles because of what's happened with him in Hollywood. And what apparently happened is on the set while they were filming, I don't mean to laugh because this is a serious thing, and as far as I know, nothing's been reported yet on if it was a serious injury or if they had maybe some airbags to catch his fall, but he fell out of a window. Yeah, he fell out of a window on the set, and as you even read, Deadline tried to reach out for a comment about the unsafe conditions, because even I've heard apparently staff and crew walked off the set because of apparently this has been a very unsafe environment for everyone working here. And all the producers could say was, we don't negotiate with communists. I didn't know that being safe and providing a safe workspace for your staff, crew, and actors involves negotiating with communists when getting asked about serious questions. But we're going to play this clip here, and man, I mean, I hope that Jonathan Majors is okay. I hope he didn't suffer any serious injuries, because I mean, that's a crazy thing to be performing something like this and something that wasn't in your control, possibly leading to you getting hurt or injured. But we're going to play the clip, and I'll be back here in a few seconds.
And camera set. Here we go, guys. Ready? In 3, 2, 1, action! No! Oh.
Yeah.
Guys, let it come back. Let it come back.
Yeah. Good? I'm good. You good?
I'm good, right?
Did we shoot it?
We shot it.
Use it. I'm good.
We're okay,
I'm good. I'm good. Good.
Okay, guys. Be careful of the glass, guys.
Eh?
Wow. I mean, I don't even know what to really take from that. You can see they're filming it all normal. Everything seems to be working just fine. And next you know it, they are acting out a scene of his character, it looks like in the movie, getting shot, and they fall out of a window, and everybody's rushing over to check on him. Again, it seems like nothing bad really happened to Jonathan Majors, but that still shows how unprofessional that is. That's very unprofessional as a studio and filming for this movie, that your actor is acting something out and unintentionally is falling out of a window. Now, I know we overhear he is saying, like, they're all like, are you good? And he's like, I'm good. Are you good? Did you catch that? And he's like, well, let's use it. I think that's that thrill seeker aspect in a lot of actors when they do their own stunts, where it's like, use what I just did right there. That was good. But I mean, it sounds like he's all good. It still, to me, shows a lot of unsafe work conditions, because something like that shouldn't be happening, where your main star is accidentally falling out of a window, because thankfully it seems like it wasn't a far, or it looks like it wasn't a far height, but still, I mean, just imagine if this was in a different building and he fell further down. This could have turned into a serious thing, but I'm glad it looks like he's okay. Maybe this is just getting blown out of proportions. He seems fine. He maybe even seems like he was okay with it, but still, you got to keep your actors safe, man, because the last thing you would want is for them to getting seriously harmed in the making of a movie, and that is definitely a possibility. We've heard tons of stuff before, but you share your opinion. Do you think that this is unprofessional, that they're not making sure the work environment is safe, and that their actor just fell out of a window like that? Or do you think that, hey, no harm, no foul, he's safe, he's good, he seems okay with it, let's just move on? I mean, share your opinions on it. I shared mine and how I think. I think it's a little unprofessional, but I'm glad he's okay. That's the main important aspect of it, is that he's okay, and that's what we care about. But again, share your opinion. What do you think? But last thing we're going to talk about, this is going to be our last topic, of course, and that is our football section. We're going to be talking about 3 little headlines here involving with football, specifically with the NFC East. I was surprised in these last few days that the news I would be talking about football-wise would all involve the NFC East. And, of course, for my non-football fans, the NFC East is the specific division that is pertaining to each. There is the NFC and the AFC. That is the big divisions there. And then under that are subdivisions. And you have in the NFC, there's the NFC North, the NFC West, the NFC East, and the NFC South. On the AFC, it's the AFC West, the AFC North, the AFC South, and the AFC East. And those subdivisions have 4 set teams. Well, the NFC East is the division that contains the Washington Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think everybody knows about Philly and the Eagles. I don't think anybody can know football without knowing the Eagles. Of course, you can't also know football without knowing the Dallas Cowboys, which is also part of the NFC East. And last but not least, another team that a lot of people know about, and that's the New York Giants. And, well, we got some big news involving these, associates of the teams, et cetera, et cetera. And the first big headline is Troy Aikman. If you don't know who that is, he is the former 3-time Super Bowl champ of the Dallas Cowboys when the Cowboys were rocking the 90s. That is, of course, the era that a lot of Cowboys fans are stuck in, when the Cowboys used to be something, but now we all know the Cowboys are nothing. I'm sorry. I had to take a jab at the Cowboys. We love taking jabs at the Cowboys. They're too full of themselves. But Troy Aikman, he has been recently seen having a pretty substantial role in helping out the Dolphins organization, the Miami Dolphins, who that is part of the AFC East. And it's bringing a little bit of a conversation here, because it seems that his role is becoming more and more involved. There was discussions that he was helping out with the Dolphins as far as first it was being announced that he was going to, when they fired Chris Greer, the former general manager of the Dolphins, it was being said that Troy Aikman was assisting the Dolphins in a new GM search. This is, of course, for anybody that maybe just is like, oh, I need to see a picture just to remember what he looks like. Troy Aikman here. I think it should be a little more familiar and ringing a bell for some people, but Troy Aikman, that Troy Aikman, Cowboys Troy Aikman. It was being said that he was helping them in the search for a new general manager. and which then resulted in them getting John Eric Sullivan, the former general manager of the Green Bay Packers, which then resulted in them getting the head coach in Jeff Hafley, the former defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. And now what's being reported is Troy Aikman here. He is now going to be apparently sitting in he's now getting somewhat of a consultant role with the Dolphins, where he's helping consult with them. Meaning if they have questions, he's going to consult them and be like, hey, maybe don't do this. Maybe you should do this. And it's bringing a conversation here about his role, especially because he's going to apparently be sitting in the war room with the Dolphins during the 2026 NFL draft process. And the war room is, if you have seen a little bit of football, it's that room where all the head coaches and staff on the team are sitting, and when it's their turn to make a selection in the draft, that you'll sometimes see the camera cut to them and their excited reactions as they select a player. So apparently Troy Aikman is going to be sitting in that room with them. And he was then even asked in an interview of, hey, like, did the Cowboy, he was asked, like, what about the Cowboys? Did they ever ask you to be a consultant for them? And he said, nope, I've never been. He flat out said, nope, the Cowboys have never asked me for a consulting role, nothing like that. And of course, that's, as you can now see, where that's what the conversation is starting to really blow up. And it's interesting because we are getting into an era where a lot of former QBs are getting these big roles with these organizations. The biggest one being Tom Brady, of course. After he retired, he became we all know, he became a part-time owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And essentially, while he's a co-owner of the team, he's also became a kind of consultant, where he's been helping in their process and finding a new QB and stuff. He's kind of one of the big leading presence there that's kind of associating to why the Raiders could be the team that ends up getting Fernando Mendoza, as he's having a big say in that. And we're seeing more of that involvement nowadays with these former QBs, from Tom Brady and his involvement with the Las Vegas Raiders. Matt Ryan, the former QB for the Atlanta Falcons, who you guys should all know infamously is known for his time in Atlanta when they went up in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the Patriots, and sadly blew that huge lead in the Super Bowl. But he's became now a big head and consultant for the Falcons in their QB process. So we're seeing how more and more of these QBs are becoming associated with these teams to help be consultants. And this goes back to Troy Aikman of what his involvement can be. Of course, there's even those conversations of, can this have a conflict of interest, aka meaning, could this, like he even said, it's a smart move that they decide to go with me because of the information I know. And of course that could bring the conversations of, well, what kind of information is he going to give them? Could he tell them stuff that maybe could help kind of give them a small edge in in the league and in football? And I mean, we're not unfamiliar to the ideas of rigged games and bounties and all of that kind of stuff. We know sports has had a ongoing thing of rigged games, all that kind of stuff, just for entertainment and money. But still, there's those points where you're like, okay, where's the integrity? So you do wonder, with Troy Aikman now becoming a consultant for the Dolphins, how far does this consulting go? Is it just going to be that he's going to simply go in there and tell them, hey, maybe you guys should do this to help your quarterback out. Maybe you should go for that receiver, or maybe you should draft that quarterback, or this and that. Or is this going to get to a point where he's like, yeah, the Cowboys, they used to do this and this, and I know Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, loves to do this, so you should do that. So you could see where there could be possible conflict of interest, but it's interesting to see that we're getting into this era of the old school quarterbacks coming in and helping out these teams try to get better and develop with more consulting. And once again, as always, as I always am going to tell my audience, share your opinions on this. What do you think about Troy Aikman becoming this secret consultant for the Dolphins? Do you think that this could have a conflict of interest that could have negative effects for football? Or do you think that this is a cool thing that he's helping them out? Do you think that the Cowboys are dumb for not ever considering bringing this guy in to be a consultant for that team, so maybe they could stop losing games and actually be a competent football team again? Who knows? But share your opinions on that. And now we're going to move on to one of the next NFC East teams that is in the spotlight, and that is the New York Giants, as it was recently revealed that the defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence II has requested a trade away from New York. He don't want to be there no more. He don't want to be there no more in New York and wants to be gone. And it's understandable, because when you find out more of the information, that apparently this is all stemming from, as always, money and his contract. This is something that has been going on apparently for 2 years now while he's been with the Giants, where he's been wanting a new contract. They've been discussing it. They've been kind of beating around the bush, swerving, all that kind of stuff. And it's now reaching a boiling point where now Lawrence is like, hey, if y'all can't give me my money, then trade me to a team that can give me my money. And he's a guy that, once again, as we've said before on the show, he's a player that feels his worth and knows his worth as a defensive tackle for the Giants, and knows that he has brought a lot to that defense, and is like, guys, give me some money here. I deserve to be paid as high as some of these other defensive tackles that I know I've performed better than in the regular season. And the Giants, though, they're like, well, we still have 2 years on your contract. So this is going to reach one of those weird, awkward stalemates of the Giants don't have to really do anything. It's either going to come down to Dexter Lawrence just has to miss out a whole season to stand by his values of getting paid, or hopefully someone comes in and offers. I mean, there's definitely teams out there that need a defensive tackle to bolster that defense, especially if they want to be going to the Super Bowl or be a better team. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. Will Dexter Lawrence get dealt to another team, or will the Giants just do what they've been doing for the past 2 years, and that's kind of just beating around the bush and avoiding the hard conversation of giving him his money? I don't know. I feel a little more inclined that they're going to pay him his money and he'll end up staying a Giant, because from what I've heard rumors-wise is that there's a very good chance they're going to be expecting a Quinnen Williams type deal for him, meaning a first and a second, or a first and a third rounder, to even consider trading him away to another team. And I just don't know how many teams are going to want to trade a first rounder for Dexter Lawrence. And that's no offense to him. He's a great D tackle, but he's 28 years old. He's not getting any younger. So there's going to be teams that are going to be like, do I really want to give a first-round pick for a guy that's starting to age and has been injury-prone? Or I save my draft pick and I could just go into the draft and get a guy who's younger and has better talent. But you share your opinion. Do you think he's going to get dealt to another team? Maybe share which team would you like to see him go to. Maybe share your team. Say why you think that he should go to your team. Just share those opinions. But of course, like I said, I think the Giants will end up giving him a new deal and he'll remain a New York Giant for the future. But who knows? The league has proven in these past 2 to 1 year that anything can happen. I don't think anybody would have expected Micah Parsons to be a Green Bay Packer, and yet here we are. So we don't know what could happen. But our last topic is going to be our final NFC East team, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is involving their quarterback here, Jalen Hurts, former Super Bowl champ Jalen Hurts. We should all be familiar with this guy. We've seen his face a few times. He has been the QB for the Philadelphia Eagles for a good couple years now. He's made 2 Super Bowl appearances, both against the Kansas City Chiefs, and in both of those games, he's outperformed Patrick Mahomes, the obvious Hall of Famer and current GOAT. He's outperformed him in both Super Bowls. But as always, the internet is finding, well, not the internet, the media is finding ways to once again put a lot of flack on poor Jalen Hurts. And so this episode doesn't go out too long, I just want to kind of briefly share why I think the media loves to go against Jalen Hurts so badly. And I think this stems from the fact that the media likes a player, and especially a quarterback, who interacts with them. And Jalen Hurts is a guy that has proven time and time again he does not really care about impressing the media. He just likes to show you what he got on the field. And it's crazy that this guy still deals with controversy after controversy after controversy of doubting of his play and talent, especially considering last season we all saw the Eagles had a little bit of a down season after they won the Super Bowl. This team didn't look at their best. They got eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. Everybody talked about how bad the offense looked. Even the stats weren't as good, but he still played a solid season. As I'm going to move my little picture thing out the way here, he threw for 3,224 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions with a QB rating of 55.2%, which is really good. It wasn't the best, but still not the worst. It was 20th. And essentially, as we're even seeing here, he's put up a lot of good stats, man. And every time he gets doubted, 2024, everybody complained and whined that, oh, the Eagles are relying too much on handing the ball to Saquon Barkley. Can't these guys throw? Guess what? Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl, and this dude balled out and outperformed Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage possible to show the haters that, hey, I can throw this ball. I can trust my receivers to catch these deep passes I'm throwing. And yet, every time he keeps proving the media wrong, the media finds a new way to try to criticize him. And I think this really stems from the fact that Jalen, like I said, he does not care about the media. He just cares about making sure that he puts a good performance out there on the field. And I think that that's admirable for a quarterback. Heck, there's a whole Sprite commercial where the whole joke is that the media is trying to interview him and learn more and more about him. And he's like, I ain't got to answer anything to you. I just enjoy my Sprite. And it's like, does the Sprite make you better? We'll never know. And it's like, it's a running gag that Hurts does not care about impressing the media. He just cares about impressing himself with what he puts out there on the field. And I think because he doesn't care much about impressing the media, that has resulted in the media wanting to find something to talk about. Because Jalen Hurts won't give them something to talk about, they got to find things to talk about. Because the media loves the players that love to talk and run their mouth. Deion Sanders, that's why he's as big as he is because he would always talk. He talked the trash. He talked the talk. He talked the smack. And he always backed it up. But when you got a guy like Jalen Hurts that's quiet, reserved, doesn't talk that much, but still walks the walk, the media doesn't get happy. They're like, man, this guy doesn't want to talk. He don't want to talk trash. He doesn't even want to talk to us. He's so reclusive. We need to get something out of him, so let's go and make up stuff so then everybody else will talk about it and he'll have to say something. But it's like he's proven time and time again that no matter what you talk about with him, he's just going to stay quiet. He's going to focus. He's going to get ready, and he's going to try to put out a performance next year so then people can finally stop doubting him. And I have even though Eagles ain't my team, and I even have a little bit of a disdain for the Eagles because they've ruined my Packers playoff hopes a few times, I have to consider it's admirable that this guy is able to hear all the flack he gets from the media, but still is able to give a solid QB performance whenever he's on that field. And I hope that with his new offensive coordinator, because that's another thing. This guy has gone from offensive coordinator, and for my non-football people, offensive coordinator are the people who call the plays for a QB and the offense to work around. This man has had four different offensive coordinators coach him, and yet he has still put up top 10 QB performances, and yet the media still finds a way to say he don't deserve to be called a top 10 QB or he's a bad quarterback. And it's just getting to a point where it's like, man, find something else to talk about. Find something else about the Cowboys to talk about, because since you guys love to bring up random stuff about the Cowboys, just so you guys have something for people to talk about and have controversy. So, again, I shared my opinion on it. I think that the reason he's under so much attacks from the media is because he doesn't really like to give the media anything to talk about, so they're trying to find something to talk about. So, again, as always, share your opinions, man. What do you think? Do you think that this stuff gets out of hand and they just need to stop doubting Jalen Hurts and believe that this man is a top 10 QB that is a guaranteed Hall of Famer? Or do you think that maybe some of the criticism is true about Jalen Hurts and maybe that he does need to step his game up? That's what the chat and comment is for. But that's the last of the topics for today, guys. Again, I know this episode went on a little longer. There was just so much to talk and break down. And you know me, I like to get this information to you in the best way possible. And I thank everyone who did tune in, who stayed as long as they did, who stayed with me, listened to me ramble on and talk about the topics for today. And again, as always, thank you for tuning in.